it's very interesting. We have 1,470,000 Class A shares outstanding today. That's fewer than we had a year ago in there. Those seats are filled. I mean, the shareholders are in place. We like the group we have. So why in the world, when we got a fixed number of seats, should we go out and recruit other people to replace you? I mean, the ideal shareholder group we can have is the group we have today. And why, if we had a church, we'd want the people to keep coming back week after week after week. If we had a limited number of seats and we had some wonderful parishioners, and we would not go out and recruit another 50 or 100 of them and have to throw out 50 or 100 of the ones we already had. Every company I know virtually, is wooing new people to come in, and whether they're improving the group they get or not is another. I mean, it strikes us as basically crazy. We don't want anybody different than we have now, and we're not going to get rid of the index funds, so we have to get rid of people like you, and we don't want to get rid of people like you. And I just don't understand why, if you had a neighborhood and the size of the terrain or whatever it was would be such that you could have 10 neighbors, and they were all great neighbors, why in the world would you go out and say to a whole bunch of people going up and down the street, why don't you buy the house of the guy next to me? It is weird, but there's an awful lot of people who make their living by doing that, and they never really question. I would sort of ask any company that's making analyst presentations every month or something, which of the present ones are you trying to get rid of? Basically, because you're not going to have more. I hope you're not going to have more shares outstanding at the end of the year than you have now. And am I supposed to, get out of the way so some other fund that is thinking about what your stock is going to do next week replaces me? It is a very, very, very weird situation. And of course, the really crazy process that has developed is people talking to, we'll say, analyst group, the sort of the high priests of finance. Some companies are doing it more than once a month. Well, just imagine if you work for that company, you go to work for that company, and every month people are repeating these things about their company, that it's important that we have more services per customer, and it's 6.2, and we got to get to 7 or something like that. And they'd say that month after month after month. It becomes a catechism. And CEO says it, or his or her representative says it, and it goes, how do you go on the next month and say, by the way, we were really wrong, and this is what we should be working on? You don't say that. And it's a terrible problem that the new CEO has coming in after a previous CEO has said the important thing to do is to hit your earnings targets. Well, he's been meeting them in all probability by cheating from time to time. And this guy hands you the baton, and are you going to come out and say, well, we've really been cheating a little, and it's really counterproductive to the development of the companies, not to make earnings projections and just to give you the results as they come, rather than making up a few things in the accounting department? They can't do it. You can't. It's not human nature. And besides, you wouldn't get appointed as a successor, but you just don't go in and say, we've been perpetuating these myths that we can always deliver 8% growth, or we can do this or do that, or that the most important thing is this. You can't go in and change that if every month you've been preaching to people that this is what we stand for, and just ask another question and carry this message out to the masses, to the analysts and all that. And it's a totally destructive policy. I mean, I can within gap accounting and I can play a lot of games with numbers. We've done a lot of dumb things at Berkshire. We have never told anybody that the number had to be this or that or to change anything. I mean, it just, once you start it, it's all over. You can't quit. It's like taking $5 out of the cash register. You know, the first time you take the $5 out, you say, well, I'm going to put it back. And then do it a few times and you'll never stop. In fact, do it once and you probably never stop. But if something is going to be destructive, the thing to do is not start it. And forecasting earnings, I can't imagine anything more destructive. I got 360,000 people out there, and they know whether I'm lying or not, a good many of them. And they know if they send in figures and they get changed, you know, what message are you telling them? We've got one dramatic illustration of that within Berkshire. And it's just, you know, we want to, if you start lying, you got a big problem. It's that simple. And if you start saying to your team that somehow you got a job, you got shareholder relations, your job is to go out and tell everybody that our stock is the best thing among thousands of choices to buy every day. Well, that's crazy. And so what do you tell them? Well, they try to, you know, see which way the wind is blowing and figure out what they have to tell people, and then they go out and tell them. And then if you're a human and you've said we're going to earn $3.59 a share, you can get to $3.59. You can get there quite a while. And, you know, you can have audit committee, you have all these processes. But if you have a culture of lying, the processes really don't, they just disappear. And Charlie and I have seen it, well, probably every time we've gone on a board. But, Charlie, tell them about it.
Well, I think Berkshire's culture is going to last a long time after we're gone. And I think it should, and I think it'll prosper pretty well. The rest of corporate America is quite different. And it gets more different, I think, with each passing decade. And it's getting very peculiar. Pretty soon they're going to hold all the shareholders' meetings online, and the shareholders won't even come. And it's getting very peculiar, and the index funds get more and more important in the voting. And it's like everything else in life. It changes, and not always in ways you like.
And it ends up for selecting different CEOs and all kinds of things. I mean, you're not going to appoint a successor CEO that's going to come in and said everything that's been done before is, you know, it's been kind of fraudulent. You know, I mean, if we needed to book an extra sale after the end of the quarter, if we needed to adjust the reserves, and it's once you start lying, it's all over. And I just don't know any way around that except to try every way you can to not. You sure can't. If you set the wrong example at the top, you got a real problem. You know, we've never told anybody to change a figure. We never will. And if they had been changing figures, you know, we'd be in all kinds of trouble because they know it and I know it and the next person would know it, and it just deteriorates. And we've really seen it. We've really seen it time after time. The way boards operate, you know, it has to be process oriented. I mean, I understand the problems that Delaware has in writing a statute that judges face when they look at things. But it's extraordinary. It's just extraordinary what an emphasis on process can do to an organization, because they think they can do anything if it's allowed. And eventually the foundation crumbles.